All right, time to talk more Packers with our friend Aaron Nagler. You'll hear him today on Carry the G Radio, noon to 2, right here on The Game. Our conversation this morning brought to you by Miller Lite Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin. There's a difference. And by Rogers Behavioral Health. Good morning, Mr. Nagler, picking up the pieces after a remote smashing loss to the Giants.
Morning. I don't know about good, but it's definitely a morning. No question about it.
It's fine.
How you doing?
Gonna happen, boys.
How you
I
doing?
know. Hey, look. Josh had the receipts last night. What did I tell you? To quote Robert De Niro.
Thank you.
What did I tell you? Was anyone going to be surprised that they went into New York and lost? I said no. Because last night was kind of an example of everything this team has been throughout much of the season. Mistake-ridden, shooting themselves in the foot. The one kind of, I guess, ray of light here is that you actually saw a team attempt to fight back and win a game at the end in a way you didn't see back in October. I'll tell you that. The fact that Jordan Love was able to kind of marshal the troops, get into the end zone, give yourself a chance to win that game, even after just a mistake after mistake after mistake in all three phases all night long, to me, that's progress. And I know that doesn't feel great for Packers fans on a Monday morning or Tuesday morning after they've lost, but that's progress. For a young team, that's a good thing.
All right. Because it is Tuesday, we play Top 3 Tuesday. The top 3 most inexcusable mistakes, Mr. Nagler, in your opinion, from last night.
Oh, man. 3 off the top of my head.
Assuming Keyshawn's fumble on the punt return is number 1.
Oh, that's number 1 with a bullet.
No, that's not
number 1 with a bullet. Not even a question. 2, I'd probably say I'll probably go with Patrick Taylor not running out of bounds when he's like making moves and trying to get extra yards. Just what the sidelines right there, go out of bounds. You saw LaFleur get pissed at him for good reason. I mean, just get out of bounds.
But it didn't hurt him though, did it?
I mean, it depends on your view of where the clock is, and that for me, that's number 2. Is at the end of the game when the Packers are driving for that go-ahead score. Why they're hurrying up to the line of scrimmage? I get the idea of Jordan Love being able to kind of assess at the line and try to take advantage of what's presented to him, and they did eventually get it in the end zone. So mission accomplished there, but they left so much time on the clock. AJ was running well. They were moving the ball on the ground. Just run it like 6 times, get in the end zone, and leave. Like there was zero reason to give them time.
You're worried about DeVito coming down and scoring. I know he did it, but worried about that?
It's Joe Barry. Yeah, I'm very worried.
But at some point, offensively, Matt LaFleur is an offensive-minded coach.
I get it, and you want to score.
It doesn't matter when we score. We have to score. We did our job.
Yeah, they did.
Right? Like
they did.
Joe Barry might be a problem, but as far as Matt LaFleur goes, offensive-minded guy,
I get it.
I get it. When you score.
I totally get it. Unfortunately, you got to coach the team you have, and the team you have's defense is coordinated by Joe Barry. That's part of the equation for me. I mean, you're right. You're 100% right that like
last 2 weeks they answered the question defensively.
Right. No, I get it. In very different situations, though. I mean, you're playing with a lead is very different. You know.
Let's pretend, Nagler, that old number 46, Randy Bullock, lost to a kicker wearing 46. Just sticking my craw.
Right.
Let's say he pulled a gork and just missed it badly, and they win.
Mm-hmm.
What would you be saying about the game if they had won? If that had happened?
It's a burn the tape win. You know, there's so much that went wrong last night. So many mistakes by so many different people. I understand, like the professionals, the people who it's their job. They're going to look at it in house. But as fans and as people who talk about it, it's like there's not a whole lot to be gleaned from a night where you saw, I mean, almost a mistake every single drive in every facet of the game. And again, they still got into position to win the game. Now, look, I'm not apologizing for the Saints win, and that's what it took. The Saints missed a kick, right there at the end. Like that still counts on your it goes in the W column. You know what I mean? So there's so many things that you can look at this game. If they do this, if they do that, they just didn't put it together the way they had the last couple of weeks. And this is what we talked about with Jordan Love, right? Like, I don't think there's any doubt this game probably turns a little differently if they're a little more efficient on offense early in the game. But Jordan was clearly off. This reminded me a whole lot of Brett Favre early in his career, where early in games, sailing footballs over his guys. Like, I mean, I think there were at least 4 egregious misses from Love in the first 2 drives, where if he just has one of them, picks up a first down, you're on your way, right? I do think that played a part of it. And then the other flip side is the pass rush, the work up front or the lack thereof. I mean, the last 2 games, we've seen that defensive front get after the quarterback and be really disciplined in doing so. My goodness, you heard Matt, who always says, what does he always say after the game? I got to look at the tape, right? I got to look at the tape. He didn't even need to look at the tape. He saw it on the sideline. The number of times, I think Rashawn Gary was probably the main culprit, but pretty much everybody took turns just flying past the quarterback. Like, it's one thing to pin your ears back and get after the QB and, be disciplined in doing so, which is what we saw the last couple of weeks. But last night, they kept leaving wide open lanes for DeVito to just step up, take what's there in front of him, run, use his legs, convert, get a first down, and away they go. And you saw it again and again and again. It was a crashing back to earth for a defensive front that's been pretty good these last 2 weeks.
Yeah. All right. Do you think they were flat or in any way played down to their opponent, even though I've pointed out to Josh, every team that the Packers have played has 5 wins this year or better, and the Packers only have 6. So I don't know who's down, who's up, basically. But did you think they played down, and were they flat in your eyes?
Yeah, it's so hard to quantify, right? I mean, it did feel a little flat early on, but that's just watching it on television doesn't mean a whole lot. You're not in the meeting rooms leading up to it. You're not in the huddle. You're not on the sideline. I can't really say one way or the other. But the playing down to the competition thing is interesting because you talked about it last week. We talked about it a lot at Cheesehead TV. Like the idea of being the hunted versus the hunter, right? The Giants, I'm not saying it's a house money game, but look, they're coming off their bye week. They know they're not going anywhere this year. They've got this exciting young quarterback who's a bit of a craze here in the New York area. There's a lot of energy there, right? So, yeah, maybe you did come out a little flat because you think, oh, we've just, wiped the floor with the Lions and Chiefs, and we're going to come into New York and take care of business. Well, taking care of business, you're not old and experienced and kind of seasoned enough to do that. You've got to get up for every single game. Maybe they didn't. I'm not going to sit here and say it's an impossibility because we certainly saw a tepid performance last night from the Packers.
Nags, one of the things is we all thought a game like this was going to happen at some point. I did not think it was going to happen Monday. However, they still have 4 of these games ahead of them that are, as Czabe likes to say, cupcakes, easier teams.
The Carolina game's a cupcake.
Okay.
But the other 3 have firmed up.
Cake.
The other 3 have firmed up like Jell-O in the fridge.
Okay, so 3 Jell-Os and a big old sheet cake. All right, that's fine. All right, I'll go with that. How do you think 3 Jell-Os and sheet cake? How do you think it plays out the rest of the season? I mean, when you look at this, 4 games left. It's a month of football. What's the finish?
It's going to be tough, man. I tell you, the way the Packers looked last night reminded everybody of October, right? And the 4-game losing streak and all the kind of issues that this team has had pretty much all season. There's not a game they can't win. There's not a game I won't be surprised if they lose, even Carolina. They're so inconsistent, and I don't think, yes, they are a young team, but at this point, everybody on the field has played a lot of football. They played a lot of NFL ball. You know what I mean?
Get rid of the young pretty soon here.
I mean, yeah, it fits. I mean, it's just facts too. That's the other thing. They are the youngest team on offense in the league, which I found fascinating last night when, they showed that graphic. What the Giants are the youngest defense in the NFL. I mean, that was kind of fun to watch 2 toddlers go after it. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to beat around the bush and say, oh yeah, they're going to go on this march because they had so much talent on the sideline yesterday. You talk about Aaron Jones, Jair Alexander, Christian Watson's absence last night was notable. Now you've got Wicks and Reed both hurt coming off of last night. The cover's starting to get bare, man. I understand the frustrations of all the end arounds to Reed. Like that's kind of a hot topic on Twitter this morning. But if you're Matt, you're trying to generate something. You're trying to get the ball in one of the lone guys who has some explosiveness. You're trying to get the ball in space to these guys, and you're losing them now. Like play after play. At this point, next week we could conceivably see like Samari Torre and Malik Heath as your starting wideouts. So You know what I mean? So, yes, it's going to be a tough task. You're on a short week against the Bucks, let alone the rest of the schedule. It's definitely, as Matt says, you got to go 1-0 each week. The Bucks are no joke. They have a tough defense. Baker Mayfield is scrappy as hell. There's no way you can take this game lightly. And, yeah, the rest of the year, they can beat anyone. They can lose to anyone.
All right, well, give me a record. You didn't give me a record. What do you think they go?
Beat the Bucks. I don't know.
Come on now, Nag.
I don't know.
Nag doesn't play that game.
Playoff, you don't play that game, but I
don't play that game. Beat the Bucks.
Come on to my world.
Just beat
Come
the
on to
Bucks.
my world. It's a fun one. I'll fix your computer too.
They got to win 2 of the next 3. I mean, they've got to win this game at home against Tampa.
I agree.
And they've got to beat Carolina on Christmas Eve, for God's sakes, a 1-win team. So then
we get to spend New Year's Eve watching them in Minnesota. Oh, God, this freaking team, I tell you.
What, do you got plans for New Year's Eve? The Big Apple?
Not anymore. I got to watch the Packers. But, hey, they didn't ruin my Thanksgiving. I'm praying to God they don't ruin my New Year's, you know?
Maybe they're just really good on holidays.
They surprised me on Thanksgiving. Maybe they'll surprise me on New Year's Eve. Anything's possible.
On the injury front, so Jaden Reed left after getting crushed on that ill-fated sweep.
2-point conversion.
The 2-point conversion. He was evaluated for a concussion. Wicks, meanwhile, knocked out of the game with an ankle injury. Apparently, according to WFRV's Lauren Helmbrecht, Wicks stated that his ankle was, quote, I quote, up.
Exactly.
Per Helmbrecht.
That doesn't portend good things.
It's up. So that's bad right there.
Yeah, and especially if it's a high ankle sprain, which is what kind of the intimation he was making. Yeah. That's done. He's done. Like, you won't see him again this season. That's 3-4 weeks. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about. They are banged up. They need to get some guys back, or else they're going to be pulling vendors out of the stand.
Watson will come back. Dobbs is still that dude. Torrey got the bubble wrap taken off of him last night. He might be able to give us something. Who knows? Okay. Heath is a dog. All right.
Heath. How great was Malik Heath getting that touchdown? Come on now. That was great.
Fantastic.
Especially after
screaming,
Czabe,
and hollering.
Can I just I want to commiserate with an old head here. Okay, so that play before the touchdown where he caught it, he has possession in the end zone, has both feet down, and then the ball gets slapped away. When you and I were young men, that's a touchdown. John Madden said, you possess the ball, you've broken the plane, your feet are down. Doesn't matter what happens after all of that. Calvin Johnson ruined all of that. Ruined it all. Yes. That's a touchdown. Malik Heath caught 2 touchdowns last night.
I know. You do not need to run out of the touchdown area to touchdown. Like, you catch it and you put 2 feet down and you
just hate it.
Like I hate the whole mealy mouth element of time and that third step. I said, show me in the rule book the words third step.
Yeah, I'll guarantee it's not there. I'll guarantee it ain't.
Bullcrap is what it is. Yeah,
it's the lawyerification of the NFL, and I hate it. Thanks.
I know it sucks, but still, I don't know. I'm still hopelessly, stupidly optimistic because I think it's still all right there. They still have a POF according to the New York Times playoff computer webpage.
52%, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a puncher's chance.
What did Han Solo once say, Nagler?
Never tell me the odds.
Never tell me the odds, but all I do is look at the odds and I refresh the odds. And I show the odds to Josh every morning, and he says, God, I don't want to hear the odds.
Never tell me the odds. I'll tell you.
Never tell him the odds.
That's what.
I'll tell you how upset I am, and that will make my own odds.
You were at a Packer watch bar in New York, and I saw on social media that they had announced they're going to renew their lease to be that spot for Packer
That's right.
fans.
Kettle of Fish in the Village on Christopher Street. Yep, it is by far my favorite place to be if I'm not at Lambeau watching a game. It feels like my grandpa's, basement bar back in Chilton, Wisconsin in the late 70s, early 80s. It's just it is a little slice of home. Patrick does a great job, and the vibe there, it's just wonderful. I'm so happy, and it was great to see the Packers have an event there on Saturday night. Got to see Mark Murphy in all his splendor. Good times.
Murphy showed up.
He did.
Packers
he did.
Yeah, just cool. Better than going to the swamps itself. Have you been to MetLife?
Oh, God, yeah. Talk about a soulless entity. Yeah, it's, It's a slab of concrete in the middle of a swamp.
Swamp, yeah.
I'll never forgive Mike Bloomberg. He had the chance to put the stadium on the west side back in the day, and he blew it. He absolutely blew it. Yeah. There was a whole proposal to have it over by the rail yards on the west side. I could have been, at the game and then taken the train home and been home in like 40 minutes. But now you got to go out in the middle of nowhere. Literally the only things that are out there are the Dream Mall and Medieval Times and MetLife Stadium in the middle of a swamp. And that's it.
Man.
It's absurd.
That's depressing, Josh. Medieval times.
Why'd you bring that up?
Why'd you bring that up?
Because that's what's out there. They always have these shots of like the Statue of Liberty in downtown New York, and I'm like, none of that's by the stadium.
Wayne said there's an ice rink around there and stuff. Wayne told me it was
there is an ice rink.
They've done a good job building it up. He said.
No, okay. Easy
Fun fact: when they moved out of Shea Stadium, they had to play at the Yale Bowl for like a year.
That's right.
I mean, that was crazy. There was a whole NFL Films documentary on them moving to Jersey and the fight that ensued. Anyway, F the Giants, F DeVito. I love that guy, but I hated him last night. So
I had so many Packers fans who were like, "Oh, I'm so sick of it. It's so annoying." I kind of love it. I got to admit.
I would love this story if it wasn't against
us. If it wasn't against the Packers. But here's the thing. How unfun is the National Football League like 90% of the time? DeVito and his family and the agent and all that, it's fun. I like that. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. I love it. This
is a league that fires college kids doing cool viral videos of Tyreek Hill doing
exactly.
flips.
Thank you. Exactly my point.
They crush dreams. This league.
So okay, Mr.
People having fun is a good time. Noon to 2. Carry the G Radio right here on the game. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, boys. Talk to you next week. Go Pack.
Nagler brought to you by Miller Lite. Bye.